Hi, this is Steve with Coin Stuff I Like, and I'm bringing you a third installment of the early grading figures for the Flowing Hair Silver Medal. This one's through November 6th, 2024, and let's go ahead and dive in. So, what I'm doing here is sort of following the four third party grading companies PCGS, NGC, CACG, and NX, and looking at the total number that they've graded and then the percent that have graded 70. And again, keep in mind that the early figures are skewed by the bulk submissions by the ABPP guys, the big boys, and they often will request a minimum grade of 70, which they're allowed to do, and consequently, there is more 70s early on than a year from now or a year and a half from now. I know this. I've studied this a few times with moderns, particularly the 2021 Morgan and Peace series. So it does happen. We'll get to that a little bit later. But here are the current figures. So most of the submissions at this point in time that have been graded, because this is the total graded. We don't know how many have been submitted and how many are sitting waiting to be graded, but we know the total number of graded. The total number of graded so far is highest at PCGS, then NGC, CACG, and of course Annex at the very end. Not many people submitting there, and certainly not going to submit the privy mark there, most likely. So the percent graded are, we'll use PCGS as sort of like the center point. About 84% are grading 70 without the privy. It's 82%, a little bit lower, are grading 70 with the privy. And at NGC, that's a little bit higher. At CACG, it's a little bit lower. And consequently, we come down here, the percent graded 70 across all these third party grading companies is about 89% 70 for the non privy mark, without the privy mark, and about 82%, so lower, 7% lower rate of 70s for the ones with the privy mark. And I imagine if a ABPP uh, group has submitted any with privy marks, they probably have not requested minimum grade of 70. Even a 69, they probably make a sizable profit. So they're not putting a minimum grade of 70 on those, but they are on these. So they're skewed higher a bit on the without privy mark. But nevertheless, you can see that the privy marks are grading at a little bit lower rate than of 70s than are the ones without the privy mark. So on the right hand side, the left hand side is that same graphic that I used in the last slide, but on the right hand side are the deltas. How much? What's the week over week change? So NGC has added 900 more graded without privy mark and 8 more graded with a privy mark. And the percent of 70 has bumped up 4%. So last week it was 80%. Last week this was around 81%. This was about 80%, and they bumped up. NGC, for some reason, they update their population report on Wednesday every week, and the pop report does say updated as of November 6, 2024 for the Flowing Hair Silver Medals, but there have not been any change. So the delta is 0. This is what it was on the 30th of October, and this is what it is now on November 6th. CACG has added a few here. Their rate has bumped up. This is 73%. Last time we checked, 74% now. So the delta is about 1% because they graded 4 for 4 at 70 in the last week. So overall, we have seen the growth in the number graded primarily from PCGS. And that also holds true for the ones with the Privy Mark. The percent 70 has bumped up just a little bit. I'm going to go back here. This is 0%. Actually, CACG had 100% a week ago, 100%. But with the addition of 18, but only 12 making 70, this has actually declined. So the delta is about 0.3% minus versus the week before. And another thing, the U.S. Mint did not update any sales for it. So the sales figures are exactly the same. We talked about last video, and I'll put that link for the last video in the description of this video. There's a CoinWeek article that revealed that there was 8,926 that were sold to the ABPP, and that's rolled into this overall figure of just under 50,000 that are listed as sold by the U.S. Mint report. But they have not updated. There's no November 4th report. And usually they put out a report every Monday. So no November 4th report. So the figures have not been changed at all. So these not being changed, but there has been some increase in the number of total graded and the number of 70s. So these figures, so now of almost 50,000, 18% have been graded at third-party graders, and of the 1794 mintage of the Privy Mark flowing hair metals, just about 20% have been graded of those that were minted, and the number making 70s also bumped up. So of this 50,000, 16% are graded 70. And of this 1794, 16% roughly is graded 70. So a little bit of change week over week, and a couple of reports missing: the NGC population report and the U.S. Mint sales figures report for November 4th. So this is what we have to current, and you can see that the overall about 89% are 70 for the ones without the Privy Mark, and 82% of the ones with the Privy Mark are making 70. So if we look at this, this is a graphic from the 2021 Morgan and Peace dollars, the percent making 70 from PCGS and NGC. I only studied those two at that time. And this is about a 1.5 year, a little over 1.5 years. So this is December of 2021, and over here on the right is July of 2023. And you can see that what happened is initial skewing towards higher percent 70 because of the big boys, the ABPP requesting minimum grade of 70, but then it declines as more collector submissions come in over time. So this figure with the without the privy mark, 89% making 70 in the early days sort of aligns with roughly what we saw with the CC Morgan. So again, this is San Francisco Morgan, CC Morgan. This is the Philadelphia Morgan. This is the Peace Dollar. This is the O Mint or O Privy Mark Morgan, and this is the Denver Mint Morgan. So I pointed out last time that all three of these, the Peace Dollar, the Morgan from Philadelphia, the O, and the CC, those are all four of those actually were minted in Philadelphia. This one is sort of it might follow this pathway that we saw for the CC. So, maybe a 3% decline in the percent of overall percent of 70s over the next year and a half or so. Can't say for sure, but likely there'll be some pattern that will follow similarly. And this one here, the ones with the privy mark, probably following a pattern that's not dissimilar from the O Privy Mark Morgan dollar from 2021. So there you have it. That's the report through November 6th. Hopefully we'll get a little bit of movement in another week with a few other reports added. And then after that, I may go to reporting maybe once a month for a while. Anyway, thank you for watching. Remember, buy stuff you like, but be smart about what you buy. We'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.